I can't believe a whole year has almost gone by with me in this Judaism conversion class. I have learned so much that my brain is about to explode. I'm having a nervous breakdown because we are really coming towards the end here. I'm scared. Shalom, everyone. My name's S, and I'm taking you on my conversion journey. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you look down right below to make sure you're subscribed. If you support the content I make here on my channel, I would love to gain your support right on Patreon, where you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month to support me on my journey to a Jewish life. On my Patreon, you'll be getting my exclusive photos, exclusive videos, and also exclusive PDFs and documents you could download if you're interested in converting. And also for my lovely subscribers, I've written 2 ebooks, one on modesty and one on steps you should be taking if you're interested in converting to Judaism. These books are written solely by me, and they just reflect my journey and all that I've learned. So if you're interested in them, check down below and make sure you download them. I'm sure you'll appreciate the content. I wanted to talk about where I'm at mentally on my journey and some of the things I'm starting to be very aware of. On your conversion journey, you want to take caution of the world that's changing around you because you can get lost in so many things. So I was looking back at some of my early on videos of me in the beginning of this journey. And I was very emotional and I was in doubt, and there were just a lot of things going through my mind. I figured it was time for me to make a similar video with where I stand now. And I wanted to bring light to things that you probably should be aware of as you're coming towards the end of your journey. And when I say end, I really mean the beginning, because as I learn more about Judaism, the more I realize that this is a lifetime of learning. You can't be so hard on yourself that you don't know everything by the end of your conversion. It's impossible. It is impossible. And I also had like a nervous breakdown the other day where I'm like, every time I read something new, every time that I try to understand something in more depth, there's a next layer to that, and then another layer, and then another layer. And I was just like, I had to step away and just be like, okay, bleh. You're only human. The conversion process is just the beginning part. So I jotted down 7 ideas that you should be aware of on your journey, especially if you're heading towards the end of it. So let's get started. Number 1, forgetting how personal this journey is and who is going to be affected by it. Throughout my journey, I've been documenting, I've been going to Shabbats, I've been doing everything, reading everything. And because I'm publicizing my journey, there was a span where it was foggy and I was just kind of lost. And I was kind of losing myself a bit. And I realized I don't regret doing this. I don't regret putting my journey out there. I think it's great to see my growth and for people to understand that they're not the only ones going through this. But I did forget that I am a human being and that this is a very personal, spiritual thing that I'm doing. And I didn't want to make it about money or make it about views or make it about this. This is my personal relationship with Hashem. Whether you decide to publicize your conversion or not, don't ever lose sight of that. And the other thing that I kind of neglected was how affected my family will actually be. Now I'm finally pushing for them to understand more about Judaism, and the reality started to set in that, I'm about to go to the mikveh maybe in a few months. I should really get them involved in things. And it's because I'm very used to being secluded and living in solitude. Like, I live alone and I'm fine with it. You know, I'm someone who doesn't need I don't want to say a lot of help, but I don't need to be around a lot of people a lot. So I'm fine with being independent. And my family knows that about me. I just lost sight of how much this would affect their lives, because I'm like, what do they care? They're not going to be doing all these things, but I'm like, but they love you. That's where the conflict is. They're your family and they love you. And whether you like it or not, you can't hide this from them. You can't like pretend that they don't exist. Like, they're going to be in your life and they're going to be in this process. So don't forget who you are and that this is a personal journey. And also don't forget the ones who will still be here after the journey's done. So number 2 is the criticism you will get from Jews and non-Jews when it comes to dating. So I've been dating and I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that I want. Well, I know what I want. We're not going to get too crazy about that. But like, I see when I tell people like the things that I want, right? I want to homeschool. I want, to keep a shomer home. I want to keep a kosher house. Like, there are things that I for sure want to do. And I still want to be, involved in my family. And I want to travel. Like, I want certain things in life like any other human being. Sometimes when I share my ideas with other people, they're like, you can't do that. You're Jewish now. Or you can't do this. And I'm like, hold the phone. This is still my life. I've read in many books how it's almost impossible to keep all 613 mitzvot. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. When people are always trying to throw their unsolicited advice at me, and the topic of should you be dating somebody who's religious or should you be dating someone who's not religious always comes into play. I understand how important it is to date somebody who's religious, but the gamble can still happen where I date somebody who's religious and they decide that they don't want to be religious anymore. But I could also date somebody who's not so much religious, somewhat religious, and then they get inspired and understand the importance of Judaism and become religious themselves. What am I supposed to write off everyone? Like, I don't know. I think it's because, people just don't want me to have a difficult time or something. When it comes to your life, just know that you only get this one life. And picking a life partner is going to take time. It's good to have a foundation of what you want. Don't fall for whatever someone else wants for you. That's just not how it goes. I'm not converting for anyone else other than myself. If people think that they could tell me who to date, that's crazy. Make your own choices. Number 3 is the curiosity from Jewish people. And this is something I embrace. I love it, and I guess I love it now because it's exciting and you're in the process and you're learning and everybody just has all these questions for you and feedback for you. But I can't help but notice the same pattern I get. Everyone always assumes that I know nothing, right? This is fine. I'm not gonna beat everyone up for assuming that I'm just an American girl. Sometimes in my mind, I'm like, I know this. Why are you telling me this? And I just have to be respectful enough to just kind of just take the education that they give me. Even if they are repetitive with it, it's fine. I'm just learning how to deal with this. I don't know. Do you guys have any suggestions for me? I asked you guys because I trust you guys. And I want you guys to call me out for anything that I do wrong or anything like that. But I know way more than I think, and I think I just need to show it more. My thing is, how do I do that? How do I show that I know how to be Jewish? And I don't mean for it to come off in a way that's like arrogant. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. For someone to come up to me and just be like, oh, so do you know what Shabbat is? And I'm like, yeah. It's very funny. I guess that's what you have to do. I guess you just have to laugh. But the main thing that I do get is this. I get people coming up to me all the time, especially at shul, asking me like, what made you want to be Jewish? You're crazy. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to live this life? I don't know what possessed me to say this, but I shot right back at him. And I was just like, if you found out today with all that you know that you weren't Jewish, would you convert? And he stood there, looked at me, and said, yes. That was the best question anyone has ever asked me. And the reason why he said that is because it made him think of the holidays and made him think of the traditions and made him think of the prayers, the blessing, the lifestyle, the communities. And for him to just turn all that away, why would he? He said he would convert immediately. And I'm like, you see, you understand why. You understand why. So don't ask me again. No, but it's a very common question that I get. Like, you're crazy. Like, you can't eat a cheeseburger or a lobster. I was like, it's not about that. It's not about that. And they know it's not about that. That's a very, a good rebuttal. If anyone asks, why'd you want to do this? I always shoot that question back at them because everyone's response is always a yes. This process, as hard as it is, as tough as it is, as much dedication as I need to put in, I know that it'll be worth it for the rest of my life. Even if I just, out of nowhere, decide, especially since I'm towards the end, decide that I know that I'm not going in the mikvah, this is it for me. My life has changed drastically just by being on this journey. And it's not about just getting to the very end and becoming Jewish. It's literally about this process right here of the person you started as and the person you have become on this journey. And every step of the way, you learn something new about life, about yourself, about how spiritual you actually are, what you stand for, what your beliefs are. You become this magnificent power at the end of this. And whether you decide to continue on the path that Hashem has laid out for you in this Jewish life will solely be up to you. But regardless, you are changing in this process. It's miraculous how much you learn about yourself. The next thing you want to be aware of is free will. And this is a huge philosophy in Judaism. People have choices. You can make whatever choice it is in your life and how you decide to live it. And no one is supposed to judge you based on what you choose to do with your life. Like I just said, like this journey will enhance your life in ways that you can't even dream of. You should be aware that people will push you as far as you let them. And I've had this happen. People will just be telling you how to live your life. And you have to be very strong and very firm and smart in your Jewish knowledge to be able to defend your free will with facts. And that means facts from the Torah, facts from the Siddur, facts from your daily life. And honestly, put people in their place. I'm not going to say no one's going to judge you. People judge people every day. Even I judge people, and it's because I'm not perfect. You know, I try my best to not do that, but sometimes I'm like, what is she wearing? I'm a human being. No one's going to tell you how you should observe. You make that decision for yourself. You have to understand that you are coming into this knowing all this information, and how you carry your Jewish household is your business. The fifth point I'm going to make is the loneliness spurs that happen every now and then. I just had one the other night. There was just a lot of pressure on me. And, I'm going to this family. I'm going to this family. I'm going to shul, I'm also dealing with my family and trying to practice observances by trying to work full time and trying to record videos for YouTube. And I'm just like, where am I? I would just feel like my life is just kind of on autopilot. And by the end of the night, sometimes I just feel so lonely. And this happens. This happens because I'm like, I grew up with 7 siblings. And now I kind of separated myself. I'm the one who's a little different now. And it's bad. It's bad on my part to look at my life that way. I shouldn't be doing that because my family has been open and embraced me, of course, and loving me and been basically perfect. It's just been me who has been having like little spurs of loneliness. How I recover from this is I just keep on reminding myself that I'm not alone, that I have you guys, that I have my friends, that I have my family. I just need to be careful to not allow myself to get into a dark place because you could easily be like, nah, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too hard. It's too this. It's too that. I'm alone in this. I need help. Like, reach out to people. Reach out to people in your community. Don't be afraid because these lonely moments come up far often than you think. And you have to shut them up right when they happen. It's an easy emotion that could come to surface. By nipping it in the bud and just telling yourself that you got this and you're being positive and living the life that you truly want or are trying to achieve the life that you want, loneliness shouldn't be a problem. So my next point is understanding your environment. I work at a job that, even though the clientele is pretty Jewish, my workers that I have a deeper connection with, other than my one coworker, are not Jewish. My family is not Jewish. So I realized some of the people that I spend most of my time with, and also my group of friends, not Jewish, I realized some of the people I spend most of my time with aren't going to comprehend my Jewish life. And I realized that I don't have to walk around like, I'm Jewish, like, see me, no, I'm Jewish. Like I don't need to do that. And I think what I thought I had to do was like, okay, everybody just read that I'm Jewish right now and acknowledge it. And I'm like, they don't have to do that. I don't know why I thought that that would be the standard. It's very, I'm telling you, weird things happen on this journey. You just think that you should be doing things where nobody in reality is actually thinking or wants to do those things. What I'm trying to get at is just live. Just live your life and understand to keep doing mitzvot and to just be your authentic self. I hate that phrase. Be yourself. And this process shouldn't change you to the point that you aren't happy with who you've become. This process should enhance who you are and bring you to a higher level of spirituality. And that's exactly what it's doing for me. I realized my friends are just, I explain things to my friends like we just had our own like little Shabbat here at my place. I explained things to them. They loved it. They loved everything about it. And I realized people will eventually become accepting of your new life. It's not up to you to get them to comprehend what we're doing. They don't need to understand every little bit of observance we do on Shabbat. It's not things for them to comprehend. So don't stress yourself out to get them to understand it. Like it's not gonna go well. So just live your life. And I'm slowly realizing that like, because I would get frustrated. I'm like, why don't you understand this? And then I'm like, you know what? Of course they don't understand it. Because if somebody were to explain Judaism to me 10 years ago, I would have been like, okay, I'm not doing any of this. Leave me alone. I'm like, your life is just crazy and full of rules, and that's a miserable way to live, and I feel sorry for you. You know, that's kind of how people are seeing me right now. But it is so crazy once you're in, like, it is nothing like that. And I think this is just our little secret. Number 7 is, I think, the biggest one. And that's just the pressure you put on yourself to know everything. You find yourself comparing yourself to other Jews, other people in your conversion, yourself, but comparing yourself to yourself is not a bad thing, but just putting so much pressure on yourself to know every little bit of Judaism in this short amount of time, it's not going to happen. You need to practice patience, because I hear other people speak and I'm like, I want to be able to know all this. And I'm like, they're probably studying a bit more than you, or they probably have a better background, or they probably are, people are smarter than you sometimes, which is fine. You need to understand where you're at and the pace that you're going, and to trust it so much more. And I'm understanding that each day of my conversion. And this is what I was saying in the beginning of my video. This is a lifetime of learning. I don't plan to just stop everything that I'm doing once I become Jewish. I think things are gonna become probably a bit harder once, I'm officially Jewish and I have this standard of living now. I think things are gonna get tougher when I get married. I think things are gonna get harder once children are involved. Once I officially have like a home, and I'm gonna take you guys through all that with me, because this is just going to be one crazy life. And I don't want to put that much pressure on myself, because it is going to take a lifetime to be as good as anyone. And although, I know a lot from the beginning of my journey compared to now, but imagine me 10 years from now. I'm going to be looking at my videos and thinking like, why were people even listening to me? I don't know anything. You're going to get people's options, but don't feel like you're limited to one way of learning, one way of living, one way to comprehend Judaism. There's just so much knowledge out there. And just consume it one word at a time. In conclusion, I do want to say, just remember, you come first on your journey, and you have the final say in all of this. Don't convert for anyone else. Don't convert if you feel like you can't commit to this, but also don't convert if your heart and your spirit and your soul isn't in this completely, because it's a lifetime of learning. If you guys like my content today, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below. And also support me on Patreon, where you could find my exclusive videos and documents and photos of me on my journey. And also don't forget to download your ebooks down below. Thank you guys again for giving me your time, and I appreciate all of it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Shalom.